Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the show. I am so excited for today's guest. You are going to learn so much from her journey and what she has created. Welcome, Shannon, to the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I am stoked to be here.
I cannot wait. We have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to the show, and your journey from what I know of our short conversations and following your journey through social media is super impressive. And I would love for you to introduce yourself and, yeah, just share how you got to be where you are today.
Oh my gosh, what a loaded question. Well, my name is Shannon Grayce. Technically, my name is Shannon Grayce Freiberg, but I go by Shannon Grayce on all my platforms. And I'm a business coach. I'm a business coach for online entrepreneurs who are really seeking confidence in sales, confidence in how their business works, confidence in having hard conversations with their teams. And, a lot of confidence comes from knowing the right systems. And so I teach a lot of systems, but I also do a lot of coaching in general to just helping people create their most successful selves and their most successful businesses through systems and also just confidence in general.
Yeah, I love that. We can all use more of that. How did you personally get started as an entrepreneur? I know now you're focused on helping online entrepreneurs, but like what was your beginning? You can take us way back or whenever it kind of emerged for you.
Yeah, wow. I mean, honestly, it's one of those things that's funny in retrospect to look back and you see all the signs, right? You see all the signs of, okay, of course I would be an entrepreneur. Of course this would happen. Like, of course I would be in this position. But in the moment, there was no like North Star of, I want to be an entrepreneur one day.
Mm,
So back in kindergarten, when you do those exercises where like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, second grade, what do you want to be when you grow up? Draw it and like write a paragraph about it or whatever it might be. I would always, always, always copy off the person next to me.
mm,
And it wasn't because I wasn't confident in writing or confident in drawing or confident in creating. It was that I truly didn't have that North Star of like, oh my gosh, like what do I want to be when I grow up? I was like, ballerina? Yeah, that sounds great. I've been dancing since I could remember. Astronaut, space is cool. I want to be an astronaut. A veterinarian, I love animals so much. That sounds amazing, right? Like helping people, I want to be a doctor. Like
mm,
being powerful in a cool suit, like I want to be a lawyer. Like I didn't have that thing that I wanted to be when I grew up. And so when, business as a major, as a life path kind of came out of the woodworks, as you like grow, you realize, oh, you don't just have to be like a doctor, a lawyer, or a
right.
firefighter. Like there are a lot of different things in this world that you can be and a lot of different roles that you can fill. And it was really exciting to be like, wow, I'm really interested in this thing called business. And then looking back, like, I was a Girl Scout growing up.
Mm.
I was always top of the class selling the cookies. The science fair project in middle school, I did the invention convention instead. It was like just an option that you had. There was only like four of us that decided to do the invention convention, make up an invention, do research, make a prototype, and create this whole business plan on how you were going to sell it in sixth and seventh grade. Like I did the invention convention instead. And it's so interesting looking back because all of the signs were there, right? Even up through high school, I was always head of the committees that were doing the charity events and creating the committee teams. And then in college, I was VP of membership for my sorority and like running recruitment and really just doing a lot of selling of whatever business that I was working under. A lot of them were charities, a lot of them were smaller organizations or schools or whatever it might be. But I think a lot of us entrepreneurs can relate to that. There's kind of two camps. There's either I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so I became an entrepreneur and started to pursue creative pursuits and started to pursue the excitement of new projects and creating things and seeing things from the fruition of idea all the way to profitable business model, right? And those things can feel really exciting. Or the other camp is I had this one passion, photography or health and wellness or fitness or setting boundaries, like whatever it is. And I turned that into a business. Right. And so I think that those two camps are really interesting and both so exciting. And I definitely belong to the first camp. So that's kind of like a deep dive background on my entrepreneurial journey from the womb.
Mhm.
I would say that like my practical entrepreneurial journey started in college with the head of the department of my major. I went to Susquehanna University, shout out Central Pennsylvania, and I was a luxury brand management and marketing major. And luxury branding was so interesting. It was all about the intangibles that come along with running a business, right? Creating a product that doesn't necessarily adhere to the materials used, and it's not only just a premium. So there's a difference between premium product and a luxury product. Premium product has more utility, and so it's like premium because it does
Mm.
more, right? But a luxury product doesn't do anything more, but its equity is enhanced by the brand under which it is fallen or by the reputation of the product that it is, right? So, for example, like Hermes bags, like, yes, of course, they're incredible craftsmanship goes into it, but the cost, right? The $20,000 Birkin bag, like that is not necessarily the exact cost of the materials used, right? There's no addition for the utility. It's basically a premium that you're going to pay because of the brand itself. So I digress. When I was in this space, I really wanted to travel the world before I got locked into a corporate job.
Mm.
And I was frustrated with that my senior year of college. I was frustrated because I just felt like I wanted to do more. And going to New York and locking myself into a $3,000 apartment and getting a entry level job at a fashion house, like that didn't feel like the true path, even though that was the path that I was on. Right. I had an internship in Shanghai working for a high fashion brand. Like I was in this major, like it made sense for that to be my next move. But the head of the department and I were having a conversation, and he was like, why don't you start your own LLC and create a business that would pay you, or you could write off all the travel that
Oh my
you
god.
do around the
I
world?
love that.
And I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
Never thought of that before. Tell me more. So I'm going to leave it at that because I just gabbed a lot about the start of all this, but that was definitely like the kickoff point.
I love that you had somebody that like planted that seed, even though it was there from before. Some of the things you said, you talked about like the sales drive. I also really recognize the initiative taker, right? Like the go getter of all the things that you mentioned at the
Yeah.
beginning. It's like, you were leading so many different, whether it was when you were younger in middle school or then in your sorority. I resonate so much with that and find myself in the same way. It's not even wanting to be the leader. It was just like, okay, there's this thing, like, let's make it better. Let's fix it. It can be elevated in some way or another.
Oh, yeah, 1,000%. And bringing in good people. And honestly, in terms of the sorority situation, I was definitely a little bit more of a like recruitment Zilla. Like I definitely was directing the traffic. Like I yelled at people. I'm not super proud if anybody's listening. That was directed by my recruitment. I learned a lot from that
Mhm.
and how not to run a project. But, when you're trying to wrangle like 70 people into like doing the thing that you need them to do, and you're a sophomore in college and the juniors and seniors don't want to listen to you, like, you set yourself up for a failure there. But it was really amazing to like truly create and curate
Mm.
those experiences. And now a lot of the girls that I brought in with that one class specifically are like some of the
Mm.
closest out of all of the girls that have gone on to live in New York and LA and Texas and all these different places. Their bond is super close. And I'm just so proud of that. I'm just like, I selected you guys. And like, you guys just are best friends now. And it feels so good to have a creation that continues on. I feel that as a business coach as well, to like have worked with so many different businesses and so many different clients, and to see their projects be taking off even after our contracts are over is such a privilege.
Mm.
It's so awesome to like just be cheering them on. And it's kind of like the Mean Girls mom situation.
You're the cool
Like,
mom.
they're on the side, yeah.
I love it. Also, one of the points that you mentioned in terms of luxury brands, I recently listened. I know we love this podcast, the How I Built This with Guy Raz, but I recently
Oh my
listened
God,
to
yeah.
the Everlane one. Have you listened to that one? You have
No,
to,
I have not.
because it literally talks about what you're saying. Like Everlane, the reason they got started is because he was, I forget which brand, but he was wearing this t-shirt, which was like a $50 tee. And he was like, he found out that it cost $8 to make. And so he was like, there's something like missing here. And that's how the brand started. So if anybody's interested in this world, definitely listen to that episode because it's super interesting.
Oh, so cool. I could nerd out about that stuff for
I
hours.
know. It was I loved that podcast. Like it's just like I love getting into the nitty-gritty. um so how did you get started as a business coach? How did that come about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love this story. And I actually, for some reason, it took me a really long time to come out with this. So, couple of things. First thing is that I did do that travel trip. I did create the LLC. I did go around the world. I did write off a bunch of stuff, but that was not my business coaching business. It was a market research project firm. But I learned so much about what it means to create a business, stay in compliance, like, your tax records, and understand what it means to be a solopreneur and not have anybody working for you, but needing to manage all those logistics
Mm.
yourself. Then after traveling, I did end up closing that business. That's a different story for a different time. But I moved across the country to Colorado. So I grew up in Maine. Actually, Freiburg, Maine is my hometown. So last name Freiburg, town Freiburg, no relation, but fun fact about me. So I moved to Denver, Colorado. My godmother lives out here through a series of events, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It was just one of those things in your body. I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you just like feel like, oh, this is a heck yes,
Oh
you
yeah.
know?
I felt that the day that I landed in San Francisco and I moved here for grad school and I had never been here before. I had never been to California before I decided to move here for grad school.
That's so funny too, because the reason why I was driving across the country in the first place was because I was going to move to
No
Healdsburg.
way.
Yeah, so I was literally going to move there. I went there and stayed for a week and I was like, nope, this is not it. And so I just kept traveling and then ended up in
Mm,
Denver
cool.
eventually just to visit my godmother for Thanksgiving. And it was just like, oh my God, this is it. So that's so funny.
Mhm. That's amazing.
I love that. I traveled to Denver and I took the first marketing job that I was offered. I just like needed money after traveling for a full year. And I was just like, okay, anything in marketing, like doesn't matter if it's luxury or not, I'm just going to take something. It ended up being this intensive sales program, which was set up as a marketing company, quote unquote, but it was really more of a direct sales conglomerate under the guise of several different franchised marketing companies that all were contracted out to like a huge $1 billion conglomerate, which owned all the products, all the contracts, everything. That's a story for a different time, too.
That was probably such good experience from a sales perspective and understanding how that works, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I gained so much from this experience, but I was severely underpaid. And I ended up in a really negative situation with this company where they sent me to another marketing company down in Texas to quote unquote do a training. This is the Spark Notes version, do a training for like 6 weeks. And then they didn't tell me that they closed the branch in Denver and that I was just permanently in Texas
Oh,
now.
wow. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And the person that owned the previous branch had been skimming my paychecks, like, which is why I felt so severely underpaid. It was this entire thing, but I want to keep it positive because I did learn so much from this. even though I didn't like get rich out of this sales job, I absolutely learned so many of the skills that have brought myself and my clients a lot of success in the entrepreneurial
Mhm.
space. So while yes, I did have some like experiences that could definitely jade me, the experiences that I have chosen to take away from it were sales with integrity are so
Oh, yeah.
important. I watched so many people try and fail to become really good at sales through using these sleazy tactics, playing on people's shame, guilt, like, trying to push people to buy things. Like, it really, truly is so much more of a successful tactic to just be super straight up about whatever it is that you're
Mhm.
selling. Have real conversations with people, build real relationships. Like, don't push people. They're going to buy it if they need it, as long as they have all the information that they need in order to make that decision. Whether you are, I sold everything from furniture to cleaning supplies to sheets to skincare to hair care to blow dryers. And we even did a test market in Sam's Club where we were like selling hearing aids, like giving out hearing tests, helping people to buy the right hearing aids. Like, there was a variety of different products that were in this conglomerate contract situation. It just gave you such a wealth of experience of talking about different products, different niches, different things, and being able to like interact with people on a very personal level. Cause like some of these things were trivial, but then other things were not. I watched a lot of people try and like push products on people, and like the products would just end up in another aisle down the way. You're just gonna be like, okay, sure, I'll take it. And then they just drop it off somewhere. We call them go. And so what happened was during that time is I became really, really good at sales. And so over the course of the year and a half that I was with that company, I rose through the ranks very, very quickly and became the top selling person on every campaign that I
Oh,
would
wow.
join. And so because of that, and honestly, I truly believe it's because like I spent a year traveling, doing meditation, like going to, Thailand, going to monasteries, going on hikes, like prioritizing myself, spending time alone. And so I just wasn't afraid to like be myself and like tell the truth
Mhm.
and be very straight up and indifferent about whether or not anybody bought any of these things, because I genuinely didn't care,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know? When I started to be really good at these things, I started to run national calls, like to talk to all these different small marketing franchisee companies of like, hey, like, here's what I'm doing in order to sell this product better than your team is doing. And I was, sent around the country to do a similar thing to teach these sales teams how to, I guess, like, quote unquote, be better at the campaign. Right. And it was thrilling and amazing, but it was not sustainable. But I did learn a lot about sales coaching. I
Mm.
learned a lot about the way that people work. And the reason why sales is so hard is because it's hard on you. It's hard
Oh,
on your
yeah.
heart. It's hard on your soul. It's hard to be told no. And it brings up a lot of like crap. Being told no a lot of times will bring up your fear of rejection from your family, from partners, from your best friend that you had when you were 7 and they like spoke meanly to you. People don't treat salespeople like real people. And so it's a really hard job to be in and to talk to individuals. Like, after I grew in the role and was kind of seeing people come in, come out like a revolving door, because people couldn't last longer than 2 months, 4 months at a job like this. It was just really difficult to be in that type of position. And I do not blame them at all, because not only was the job extremely demanding, but it was also just hard
Mhm.
on your emotions. But after kind of learning more and more about like how to coach people through those problems, that's really where I found that love of like, okay, the reason why I am at this job has nothing to do with the fact that I'm selling skincare. Like, I am not passionate about the hair care products. I'm not passionate about the things that I'm working with. It's the people that I'm working
Mm.
with. It's watching somebody go from being super scared and not being able to talk to anyone, and then being able to open up and be themselves and like crack jokes and just have a good time on the quote unquote sales floor, and being able to just relax into the person that you're supposed to be. And then, like, the literal result of somebody just being themselves and cracking jokes and like being embodied in themselves and just like being honest, the result of that is success. And so that is the biggest thing that I took away from that entire experience is like being yourself equals sales success. And that has absolutely been reflected in everything that I've learned since then in being a business coach, in working with clients in, small capacities, large capacities, one-on-one consultations to like 12-month contracts with entrepreneurs. Like when you are your most embodied, when you are your most yourself and you have the right systems in place, you will become successful. And it's really just a magical alchemy that happens there.
Yeah, I so relate to that. And yeah, in so many ways, and into how difficult that rejection is. My entrepreneurial journey started with different things throughout college, but then in building a tech startup in the Bay Area. And we were three co founders. Nobody had decided, like, okay, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. It was kind of like, let's figure it out as we go. And then I ended up leading, yeah, revenue and marketing. I felt that like the more honest I was about what it was, and I was at the time very, very passionate about the actual product, and it was very meaningful and had a lot of sustainable impact and all those things. But it was, yeah, on the days where it was like not feeling like I'm really myself or with whatever going on, like needing to just like put a mask on, that just takes a toll after a while.
Yeah. And I find that these, entrepreneur gurus, these like, dude bros that are all like, oh yeah, like buy my funnel and like you will be successful. It's like it totally, if you read any book of an actually very, very successful entrepreneur, billionaire, multimillionaire person that has built an enterprise, an empire, they have such a rooted feminine view on what this is. Like, this is just the cover of the book, but like this, for
Mhm.
example, Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, it's written by this guy. His name's T. Harv Eker. I kept this on my bookshelf for years. Like I've had this book for years because I was just like, it looks so dude bro-y. It is literally mostly saying affirmations, believing in yourself. Here's how to build confidence and here's how to like get over your money stories and understand like where you came from and all of these things that it's not just ABC one, two,
Mhm.
three. It is, you have to do the work. You have to go deeper. And I love that about business is that the deeper you go, the more people resonate and you actually will become more and more successful. And don't get me wrong, the dude bro funnels and things like that, they're going to work sometimes. If you are if you've got an aligned product and you have, your energy is aligned and you're all good, like again, like if all of those things are in place and you have the systems, yes, you're going to take off. But if you just have the systems and none of the other stuff, it's going to be really, really difficult for you to actually become successful using that
Yeah.
system because you need to feel embodied in that piece as well. And I continue to see more and more like reinforcing of that. I have not ever experienced anything to the contrary of somebody just feeling completely embodied in themselves and applying the right systems and then being successful. It's either they don't have the embodiment or they don't have the right systems. And one of those two are the reasons why they're reaching the goals that they want to. And so I want to kind of like finish your question because I know we like kind of jumped off on a tangent or two, but I love that about the conversations that we've had so far. But the way that I became a business coach is COVID 2020, when the world changed for everyone. And I found myself back in that second grade classroom saying, what do I want to do? Because I saw everyone on Instagram. They were, trying to make little side hustles, selling their yoga programs or their knitted hats that they're making in quarantine, their art. What's my thing?
Mm.
I was helping my boyfriend at the time create a fitness program on Instagram and like sell fitness programs. I was helping my roommate at the time create, a sustainable fashion business where she would like resell thrifted items. And like she was super passionate about like photography and fashion and, all these things. And I'm like, I love fitness. I'm multi passionate. I love fashion. I'm multi passionate. I could do anything. Like, what's my
Mhm.
thing? I don't want to like copy off the person next to me. Like this is my real life,
Yeah.
not just a second grade exercise. So what I ended up realizing is, okay, I'm just going to connect all of these people. I was working like 90-hour weeks at this point. Like it was like really aggressive amount of time that I was working for this crazy company down in Texas. I'm in Texas at this point. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, where's the time? There's no time. And I actually got COVID and had to be quarantined for a week. And the way that everything like worked out was crazy because I was quarantined for a week. I like, was in this random hotel room running this test market in Dallas and had a bunch of office supplies. So sticky notes, pens, papers, highlights, whatever. I just started going in on my life. I was like, what's my life plan? Where am I going? What am I doing? Like, how is this working? And then, you know, right before the world shut down, I came back to Denver to visit a friend and I got quarantined with my boyfriend at the time and two roommates, which was so energizing because we were all starting these projects, right? So what I did is I took everybody that I knew that had a project, that had a service, that had something that they had going on, and I put them all in a Facebook group. And I said, "Hey, like this is going to be," I called it Creators
I
Unite.
love that.
And it's so funny, it's so full circle because I feel like that's so much of how we met as
Yeah.
well, as in this container called Reset, and it's just so beautiful. And like, so I just started posting sales advice, marketing advice, business advice, like in this group. Just this is my thing, I guess. Like, I'm just going to help other people grow, help all my friends, all of their friends, all my family, all of their family. Like, if you've got a thing, I can help you grow it. Like, I will help you do it. And so from that Facebook group, I signed my first couple of clients. And then I jumped into my first business program and like really learned how to, set it all up on the back end, create video modules, create like a passive income strategy. And the rest is history. That was 4 years ago. So yeah, that is the long version of how I got started and like all of the twists and turns along the way. It's just wild to look back on now and be like, wow, that happened.
And I love to ask the journey because so much of like what we see on social media or, if we meet you today in the journey, we just see like the successes of what all those like what 4 years have created. And it's always so helpful to be like, oh, right. Like for somebody who's at the beginning of that journey, right? To understand, okay, there's different steps to get there. I'm curious from looking back at how you got started, if you were to do it all over again, is there something that you would do differently for somebody who's like maybe in that beginning listening of like, I'm about to start, like, how can I learn from potentially a mistake or something that you did that you would change?
I would say what I would change about any of the decisions that I made, I would say I would not have hired my last business coach. Not because she was a bad business coach or anything about her at all, but the fact that like I needed to stand on business for myself. You know, I absolutely, as a business coach, like I absolutely recommend that you collapse the amount of time that you need to spend starting your business. You should have a business coach. You should have that person that tells you ABC 1, 2, 3. Like, here's exactly how to start the business and gain momentum and launch your first products. And then even having a higher level business coach immediately after that to really solidify that emotional regularity of like having $10,000 coming in per month or even $5,000 coming in per month. It can be a shock to the system and you can go through some emotional ups and downs because of that. Or you can have a failed launch and go into some like
Mm,
really difficult shock and like need to reach into your savings and that can be scary, and having a person there to guide you through that first really difficult time. So I would say for the first 2 years at least of your business, you should absolutely have a business coach. After year two, 2.5, I would recommend that you take a hiatus, that you take a little sabbatical from having a coach and like plan this ahead of time, right? Plan this ahead of time with your coach,
mm.
even better. Saying like, okay, after this contract together, after we finish out this 6-month contract, I want to do this by myself. It's genuinely so amazing. I just got serious chills because right before we jumped on this podcast, I was actually just talking to this client who I've been working with for a year and a half. And she was like, Shannon, like, I think I can do this myself now. And I was like, yes, like that is
Yeah,
the best thing to hear as a business coach. Like, you should never work with a business coach that is just signing you, signing you, signing you, signing you just to
for
keep you
sure.
on. Like, a business coach's job should be, in my personal opinion, to like let you fly, to help build your confidence and build your decision making skills to a level that like they can go do it themselves. And then when they're ready to go to the next level, they should have the confidence to like come back to you and say like, "Hey, okay, I did it myself. I know I can do it myself, but now I want to do this other project and I'm wondering, do you have any kind of like advice on how to move that project forward?" And I'll totally re-sign with her after she like if she wants to after this, time, but I'm so excited to see her crush it herself. And that is a big part of my mission. That's a big part of who I am as a business coach is like, I want to help empower entrepreneurs, specifically women entrepreneurs, to make confident business decisions. I want to help them to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, stand on business, and like say what they want to say and make the decisive decision that they need to make in order to move their business forward. And so, if there was something in my journey that I could change, I would have not spent that last 20 grand on that last business coach where she was just giving me so many awesome strategies, but I still needed to integrate and implement from the last business coach. And I needed to think for myself. And instead of having that security blanket pacifier situation where I was just like, okay, I'm 2.5 years into business, I should just see what I'm made
Mhm.
of. Another business coach in 6 months from now, or even 3 months from now, if I'm like, I'm still not ready to do this on my own, hell yeah, like awesome. But I would not recommend that you just sign with business coaches because you're afraid of not having a business
Mhm.
coach.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, for sure. I love that you're saying that because I think it can be really, really helpful for people listening and also understanding at which moment in the journey might be really helpful for them. I think it's so important, especially if it's something that like you're so passionate about, to have that time to reflect on your own of like what it is that you want to put out there. And yeah, like obviously a business coach can help you reflect on those things, but sometimes it can be good to take a break. I love that. I'm curious. So you talked about at the beginning, like created that Facebook group. Some of those people then became clients, and then I've seen now that you've had clients that like have gone on Shark Tank and done like TED Talk. Talk about the growth of what were clients like at the beginning to what some of them are today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for asking this question. Yeah, I mean, if you have an idea, there's this X factor that will come along with that idea. It'll be like this little glimmer, almost like a whisper in the back of your head. It's like the intuition, right? That says like this is worth something. Like yes, a full body yes. I always 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 try and work with clients that are that full body yes because I have seen it go so unbelievably far. The people that have gone on to raise over $1 million in seed funding, the people that have gone on to speak at their universities, to doing TED Talks, to being on Shark Tank, to winning pitch competitions, or even just down to the, winning small business grants and being able to fund their business for a year with like the grant money that they've created, like coaching people through the fruition of these really big goals is so amazing and interesting because who they were at the beginning were just a person with an idea, just a person with a passion, just a person with a wouldn't it be cool if, and the flexibility for it to change. Okay, this is actually really important. Every person that I've seen rise to that level of success, to that level of embodiment, you know, successful personally and also financially, like the biggest thing that I see is the willingness to develop with the idea, right? For example, the gal that was on Shark Tank, we'll use this as like the big example. The gal that was on Shark Tank, she came to me in 2021. So she was a Penn State cheerleader, and then she also was a Falcons cheerleader and then a San Francisco 49ers cheerleader. And she wanted to create a fitness program for cheerleaders. That was the reason why that she hired me as a business coach. But she kind of had this like little idea in the back of her head. Wouldn't it be cool if? She was a lieutenant in the military. She was, in her second year, so she had one more year in the military, and she was really frustrated about the uniforms. Being a cheerleader, like you always get these great uniforms and everything, but then like in the military, you got to wear these baggy t-shirts. Everything's built for men, and she just had this little idea that was like, it would be so great if we had a bodysuit for military women that was, because you can't wear bodysuits because none of them are regulation. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a bodysuit that could be used for regulation uniforms? When I tell you, I still get chills thinking about this because we were on the phone talking about this fitness program and I was like, Haley, this is a revolutionary idea. Like you can make this fitness program and make some $1,000 a month or whatever, but like this is an idea. I do pride myself on being able to like pick out those ideas and being like that is, and like in all of the muck of the safe life, the safe thing, this is the revolutionary idea. It's a big part of my human design if you're into that, as well as like taste making and being able to be like, oh, like this is a big idea. Like this is exactly what you want to do. Or this is going to catch somebody's attention. Like all of this is like noise. Like let's just focus on this one part. But yeah, it was just like this conversation where I was like, nothing for nothing. Like, I'm not trying to push you. Creating a fashion business is a huge undertaking. But if you have the passion, like, and you have the drive, I think that this is the idea. And that was 2.5 years ago. And she signed the Shark Tank deal last summer. And she has gone on to create some incredible contracts. And it's called Torch Warrior Wear, if you want to look it up.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Just a girl with an idea, 25-year-old girl with an idea, getting out of the military, ending her career with the NFL, and deciding to go all in on herself. And those are the people that I love working with, are those people that are like willing and excited to come with an idea and allow it to develop, allow it to change as well. Because truly, truly, the people that I've seen that are most successful are the people that just stay true to themselves and true to their intuition and their integrity.
Yeah, I can resonate so much with that. I feel like we could be talking forever, and we're going to have to do a part 2 because I have so many more questions.
I know.
One that I really do want to ask, though, because it's something you mentioned at the beginning, is around systems. How important is it to build that around you? Also, how did you do it as an entrepreneur if like maybe you don't have a ton of funds? What can that look like maybe more at the beginning stages?
Absolutely. So the short answer is yes, you absolutely need to have the systems. The systems are 20% of the story, but they're the anchor, right? It's like in any like relay race, you have the anchor, the person that's like going to really bring you across the finish line. Those are the systems. You can have like all the best energy in the world, all the best alignment, do your manifestations, Palo Santo your room every day, like have great connections, great conversations, like all these things. But like having the right systems in place, they're going to get you across the finish line. They're going to close the deal. They're going to move your business forward as a business. I made a social media post about this the other day. It's like the biggest mistake that I see new business owners make about sales is saying that they don't care about sales, because you won't make them.
That's true.
You can't just be like, oh yeah, I started a business. Like be so
Yeah.
for real. Like you have to care about sales if you started a business. And a big part of sales and fulfillment, as well as having good systems in place that will allow you to scale that will allow you to outsource or automate some situations and some things. And honestly, I think that that's one of the biggest reasons why having a business coach at the beginning, like a good business coach that's like very systems oriented, is going to set you up for so much success. Having a great balance, like I have my signature program is called CCB, the Consistent Coaches Blueprint, for any entrepreneur who is service based, honestly. But we do focus a lot on the goal setting and like the alignment, and you learn things like sales with integrity and the aligned sales call and time and energy management. But like you also learn how to price and create an aligned offer. You also learn how to execute a launch calendar effectively. You also learn how to automate certain systems within your sales pipeline so that you don't have to be emailing every single lead individually. You don't have to be, following up individually with every single person or reminding everyone to jump on the masterclass. Or there's so many awesome things that are very simple to set up that if you just have the right person to say like, okay, like here, let me show you how to set that up, or let me set that up for you. And then it's just going to be able to run on its own. Invaluable, because the only non-renewable resource that we have as entrepreneurs is
Mm-hmm.
time. And a big reason why people start this entrepreneurial thing in the first place is to get their time back, is to be able to make their own decisions and have the freedom. Like most people, yes, some people do this stuff for the money. Like, oh, I want to make 10 grand a month, or I want to make $1 million or whatever. But most people want to make a solid $3,500 to $5,000 a month and just get their time back. That is like the biggest dream that I encounter. And having the right systems in place is integral to making that jump. And so, again, with like the empowered decision making, I actually, little pitch, shameless plug here, I'm actually currently launching a course, and I just launched it as like a secret waitlist thing. But basically, the gist of what it's going to be, if you follow me on social media, I'm going to announce it next week. But it's all about empowering the entrepreneur, the young entrepreneur, to make decisions and to understand their systems and to be able to make these decisions themselves so that they don't have to have that business coach always in their pocket helping them through this. But I want to show you the exact process that I use with my VIP one-on-one clients to close the gaps in their sales processes, to fix the problems, fix the leak in your funnel, right? Like fix the leaks, and being able to like feel empowered to look at your numbers and look at your process and find what's
Mm-hmm.
wrong and then fix it for yourself. That is probably the most valuable skill that I could possibly give anybody. And so that's really what I'm out to do, is to change the business coaching industry a little bit to where you're not needing to pay, out the butt for coaching, and being able to make empowered decisions yourself because you understand your business at a really
Mm-hmm.
intimate level. That just contributes to the alignment, contributes to the confidence, and contributes to the overall success of any entrepreneur and any individual in
Yeah, you're
general.
giving them the tools. I love it. That's really, really awesome.
That's the dream. That's what I want to do. Provide the tools. I love the support part. Being so excited, like with my client, that was just like, wow, like after this year and a half, like I feel like I could just take this and run with it. Like that's the best feeling as a coach, being like, wow, I coached somebody from the point of being like, I just have this idea, to being like, wow, I have 20 people signed up for my event next week. And I think that this is the turning point for me.
Mhm.
Like this, I'm ready to go. I can do this myself. And that was just like, wow, there is nothing like that.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Shannon, for your time and your energy and just like sharing your story. I'm sure it's going to help so many people. And like, there's so many golden nuggets that they're going to resonate with and be like, oh, I can take this. I can take this. We end the show with a few questions. I'm going to ask you one of them. And yeah, I'm excited to hear your answer. The one that I ask everybody is, how do you unlock your vitality?
I unlock my vitality through intentional time. I truly, truly keep coming back to certain moments in my life, certain times in my life that I felt the most balanced. And I've really, truly learned how to integrate that into not my everyday. I am an ADHD, crazy brain person. We started all this out being like the retrograde, the eclipse, the whatever. I'm so energetically sensitive. And if you talk to my assistant, oh my gosh, this week I have been crazy person. I just don't want to project the idea that I am like this regimented, like I have everything together type of person. However, unlocking my vitality, that like power inside, I truly feel like it's understanding your mind, understanding yourself, and being able to reflect on those things, which is different for every person. Reflect on those things that have made you feel the most powerful and tap back into them when you feel like you need that power. So for me, it's just, meditation. 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how strong I'm feeling that day. Sometimes it's a minute. Sometimes it's literally 60 seconds on the clock. Just sit, breathe, focus on my breath. And, that comes from the time in my life where I was, doing back-to-back 10-day retreats in Thailand in the middle of the forest with monks. Like, you could access that place. The other thing is like running. Back when I was working 90-hour weeks and I was somehow still going to the climbing gym and also training for a half marathon. Psycho.
I can relate. I really
Crazy
can
time in
relate.
my life. And just running off straight cortisol. But that
Yeah,
alignment that I felt in
100%.
myself at mile 3.5, when you're running like 8 miles, those who know,
Mm.
like when you're about
Mhm.
to run 8 miles and you get to that mile 3.5 and you just feel that, like, I don't experience it as a high. I don't feel like it's a high. I almost feel like it's a rooting down. If my energy feels like, okay, I just want to run faster, it's almost like my heart and my soul like roots down
Mm.
into like my soul a little bit more. And it can just really feel like, okay, I got this, you know? So those are just two examples of some things that I do. Sometimes it's saying affirmation, sometimes it's, people
Mhm.
do like the
Mhm.
tapping things, some people do breath work. These are just things that have worked for me. Sometimes it's just taking a walk, just a half a mile. And so finding those anchors, I would say, in the chaos of becoming successful and having big goals and creating all these things and needing to show up with energy is just really intentional time by myself, for myself, even if it's, like I said, just 1 minute.
Yeah, I love that. We didn't even get to talk about Thailand. I'm originally French, but I grew up there for the first like 6 years of my life.
Oh my gosh, I was there for 2 months in 2018, and I also visited in 2016.
Yeah, my parents still live there, and so we just spent like 3 weeks over the Christmas holiday.
Where is your
They live in
hometown?
Bangkok. That's where I grew up too. It's very different when you know it as like living there as opposed to what a lot of I think people experience Bangkok is.
Yeah. I don't know if you might be familiar, and I might be butchering this, but Samut
Mhm.
Prakarn,
Yeah.
I lived there for
Aw.
like a month.
It's a very, very special place.
It is.
All right. Well, thank you again so much. I'm sure people are going to love this episode. Yeah, I'm so grateful. And we'll add in the show notes all the things for people to find you. But you mentioned it's basically Shannon Grayce everywhere. Thank you so much.
Yep, shannongrace.com or at Shannon Grayce on Insta. Thank you so much for having me on. This was such an awesome conversation, and I'm so grateful for you and the questions and intention that you bring. And I love listening to your podcast, and I'm just so happy to be here. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to like share my stories and have this conversation. I want to talk
I
for another
know.
hour.
Me too. We'll have to do a part two. We'll have to have you back.
All right.
All right. Bye, guys. See you next week. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you loved this episode as much as I did. If you are enjoying the show, please feel free to rate and review, share it with a friend. This is truly how we are able to grow. So, whether you are listening on Kajabi directly, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or on Google, any way that you can just share it with a friend, and even through social media, letting us know what you loved about it, what you got out of the episode. And if you haven't yet, you can subscribe or rate and review depending on all the places that you get your podcasts. But I just wanted to say a big, big thank you if this is the first episode you've ever listened to, or if you've been here for a while, or if you've been here since the very beginning. Unlocking my vitality has been a beautiful journey into learning, actually. And this podcast has really helped me learn through different people, through your feedback, through, yeah, just seeing and hearing beautiful women and the work that they're doing and sharing it with the world. So, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next week. Bye.